I work in a nursing home and my schedule consists of days, evenings and nights. It's rough transitioning between days and nights, but everyone that works here has the same shifts, so we just get through them together. The building has about 100 residents, with 3 floors. The building is shaped like an L with a north and south wing, and the nursing station's in the middle. The 3rd floor currently only has a few residents living there due to construction, with one of the wings completely shut down because they're ripping out the walls. Due to only a few residents being on that floor, only one nurse is required to be on duty on that floor. I've worked the night shift alone on that floor many times, and never really experienced anything scary or weird. Sure, it's creepy and dark at night, but that was it. I've never believed in the paranormal, at all. I had the mindset that I had to see it to believe it. I'm a huge fan of true crime and scary movies and stories and true crime and paranormal documentaries. However, a few of my co-workers over the years had talked about how the 3rd floor is haunted. They'd hear knocks at night, and see weird things. I was always intrigued to hear about it, but we would always just laugh it off. But that night a few weeks ago has really started to change my mind. I was sitting in the nursing station, watching movies and playing on my phone. I had just done my rounds and had answered a call bell. I had felt off that night, and constantly had that feeling of being watched. I also kept on thinking that I was seeing things out of the corner of my eye. The next part is hard to explain, but I'll try as best I can. As I was sitting there, all of a sudden a shadow dropped from the ceiling and hovered over me. But by the time I realized what I was seeing, it was gone. My heart jumped and I jumped out of my chair. There was no way it would be a shadow from anything, or a car passing by, as the only window looks out into the forest, with nothing but trees for miles. After a few moments I calmed down, and left the nursing station to go check on my residents. Nothing seemed amiss, and none of them were awake except for the little old lady at the end of the hall, watching her TV shows. As I walked back to the nursing station, I swore I saw feet or a shadow moving under the crack of the door leading to the wing that was closed for construction. I opened the door just to make sure it wasn't a wandering resident from another floor. Happens quite often, but there was no one there. I walked back to the nursing station freaked out, still feeling like someone or something was watching me. I settled back into my chair, and tried to watch TikTok videos to get my mind off of it. I was sitting with my back to the window, facing the door. After about an hour of watching videos, I glanced at the clock. It was 3:03. I remember being slightly annoyed as my co-worker had promised to come up at 2:50 so I could have my break, and go out to my car to have a smoke. Unhealthy, I know. I'm trying to quit, but that night, I needed one. All of a sudden, I hear 3 knocks on the window behind me. I jumped up, looked out the window, and there I was, nothing there. Flight mode took over and I just darted down the hall, running into my co-worker who was just coming off the elevator. Now bear in mind, I'm on the 3rd floor, which is pretty high up. There was no stairway, tree or ladder outside that window, so it was impossible for a person to be outside knocking on the window. I immediately asked my co-worker if she knocked, or heard any knocking, and she said no. She could see how shaken up I was, and offered to switch floors for the remainder of the shift. I was very thankful, as being on the 2nd floor means you're with another nurse, so I wouldn't be alone. I went out to my car and had a few smokes and just tried to calm down. I talked to the nurse on 2nd floor, and she didn't seem too surprised. She's heard knocking up there, and seen and heard things she can't explain. A lot of people have died up there, and after that night I honestly don't know what to believe anymore. I haven't ever felt fear like I did that night, and I've since worked a few night shifts up there and didn't experience anything like that again. Could it be that I was just tired? I don't know. But I won't ever forget how I felt that night. This is probably the creepiest, most unexplainable thing that has ever happened to me. I used to work overnight as a security guard at the local port. Usually none of the port workers would stay overnight except for the safety official. I wouldn't be on the shift alone since the site has a radius of nearly 2 miles. Overnight, usually there would be 3 guards, including me. Since the area was fairly big, there were different posts, but front gate was the main entrance area where all of the guards would be stationed overnight, since there was no need to put them in other posts due to the fact that there was no activity in the site at this time. The veteran guards that have been there for years would often say that the site was haunted, given the fact that there have been accidents and deaths that occurred in the area a long time ago. I was aware that people died due to freak accidents, and I do believe in angels and demons since I'm actually a religious person, but I always thought that the superiors were just messing with the new guys. I would work 5 to 6 nights out of the week, and for the first few weeks, I never really saw or heard anything out of the ordinary, except for maybe a few questionable creaks, and would see a few misplaced objects while doing my patrol rounds, but nothing too crazy. Just to describe the setting to you, this is a fairly big site, and on occasions when there were big projects being constructed at the port, the workers would sometimes stay overnight. Due to the fact that there were times where port workers were required to stay at the port for a few days, there's a gym in the site for their convenience. This gym is fairly old. In the gym there's a sauna, weights, and even a racquetball court. If you don't know what a racquetball court is, it's similar to an indoor tennis court with thin plastered walls and thick glass doors. Usually on our patrol rounds, me and one of the other guards, Mike, would stop by the gym and play a few rounds of racquetball before returning back to the front gate. On one of those nights, me and Mike decided to hit a full workout instead of playing racquetball in the cage. This is around 2:30 a.m. and the entire building is so quiet that you can hear the electricity running through the lights. The air conditioner is off, and so is everything else. The only thing that's running are the lights. 15 to 20 minutes into the workout, we hear a loud thump. We crossed it off as nothing and continued working out. Then after a few more minutes, we heard the loud thump once more. At first we thought it was our lieutenant, which could have been walking around, but then we radioed him and he gave us his location, which was front gate. We tried thinking logically on what could be making those thumps on the wall. They were coming from the court on the other side. We thought it was the air conditioner, but then we remembered that it was off, and even when it's switched on during the day, there's no reports of thumps coming from the air conditioner. After a few more minutes, the thumps started occurring one right after another. We were very creeped out at this point, but what we were about to witness still scares the absolute shit out of me till this day. We started to approach the other side of the gym to where the glass door was. We turned on the flashlight and aimed it towards the clear glass door, and I got chills all over my body and I started tearing so much out of fear that I was about to cry. We saw one of the balls rolling slowly by itself inside the court, but there was no one in there. So that means the loud thumps were the balls mysteriously being tossed against the wall as if something was playing inside the cage. We were both so confused and frightened to how this was really happening, we couldn't make sense of any of it. We were scared shitless and we started yelling and running away because we knew that there was probably something evil toying with us right there. As we sprinted full speed back to the front gate, the lieutenant saw us and asked why we were tearing and running in a ridiculous manner. We told him what we witnessed and his facial expression scared us even more. He then said, "That's why there's always guards that quit often. There's something evil in the area. And it's not the first time that something that bad has happened here." He then showed us security footage of dark figures and shadows literally passing through the office areas and lights mysteriously switching on and off. Till this day, I still get chills recounting my experience with my friends and family, and I'm even getting chills right now as I'm typing this. I had never had a real encounter with the supernatural until that night. Many say that it was a demonic presence messing around, others say it was a ghost of a dead person who died in the area. I don't know what it was, but I didn't last long in the job after that. There were other experiences, but I'll send it at a later time.